David Carson.
That's pretty good. I'm official. No, I swear it's me. It's me. Look. All right. Where are we? Well, I thought this would be a good title page for the first presentation title. I was putting these slides together, and I thought, well, that kind of works. So yeah, that's the opening slide. looks fascinating. Like, gonna be, yeah, okay. Tough audience. Like, I remember this from last year too. I had a really good time last year. Some of the reason I came back, and I just dawned on me when I was putting the slides in that, well, a lot of people probably were here last year, or some, and saw last year's presentation, and he's back. So I'm going to try it already. He was just here. So I tried to put in some new stuff just that's happened since I was here a year ago, and then we'll get into all the old, well, not all of it, but some of the old stuff right up until the time the band starts playing. So maybe sooner. Anyway, that's the title. And that's it. Thank you very much. Any guesses? Okay. All right. Well, that's a good place to start. Like many of you, I take a lot of photos, and I think it influences the work, hopefully not directly, but indirectly, and somehow works its way into the work. It's not a matter of, Googling images or AI and all that, but just your eye and things that you notice in the environment in using that in your work. I think is where you get the most unique stuff and the stuff that can't be copied by any software, because nobody has your mind, your way of seeing things, your way of looking at the world. So that's how you deal with AI, and some of that is trust your way of seeing the world and use it in your work. So anyway, this is just some signage in Mexico City, and I wonder if they thought about what it looked like through the sign. It's pretty nice. And, okay. The nice thing about doing a presentation, putting it together quickly, is that I'm as surprised as what comes up next as you are. So maybe somebody can tell me what this is. I think this is a little video about the work. Yeah, looks at volume. Like way up.
Hey, but you go! Hey, but you go!
All right. Thank you. Yeah. I should have ended with that one, I think, maybe. I don't know. So, this is how I do a lot of my work. It all ends up eventually on a screen, on a computer somewhere, doing some adjustments. But I just in the last couple of years have gotten back into doing a lot more hand-done work, a lot more collage work. And interestingly, I'm probably busier than I've ever been. And I think what it's pointing to is in the industry in general, especially agency world, and people are getting tired, and have for a while, of things being perfect. And obviously, Photoshopped or Illustrated or AI to death in a way. And I think people are reacting again to feeling there's a human behind the work. And I think if you're at a kind of mid-level design job and just going through the motions, those are the jobs that probably are at risk with AI. But if you utilize your unique way of seeing the world and have a kind of distinct eye that you put into the work, you're safe. I haven't. People send me a lot of type stuff that AI has done. They say, look what they're doing. And I've yet to see one where I think, oh, okay, they got it. They finally got it. They're not quite there. So anyway, I just thought I'd show me working on the floor. And a client, a client that the work since last time I was here for Converse. And this was a pretty fun project too. They fed me a lot of old archival photographs, and they printed them. And if I said something, they would print a different one, and this and that. And then this ended up a pretty large campaign. And yeah, it's just fun. But I think it's interesting again that big companies are looking more to more and more to. I want to say I hate to say hand done in a way, but just crafted. Somebody paid attention to the materials and the feel and the smell, the texture, everything. So just another one. Well, I'm kind of bummed because I was going to show you the newer work that no one's really seen because a lot of it's not out yet. But the old work is just as amazing. No. No, some of it's not that old, but anyway, yeah, Plan B. So, yeah, just talking about wayfinding and signage that catches my eye. And I don't know if you have the same thing here, but in America, green usually means electric and cleaner. And this guy driving around the parking lot and goes, oh, perfect. I got a green car. Yeah. All right. Thank you for that. And there's some guy in a blue truck still driving around looking for the blue sign. Oh, okay. All right. Pretty simple communication, which sometimes is the best. It's a really thin line between simple and boring and simple and powerful. And I think that's the kind of challenge we have because simple can be really powerful, or it can be screaming, don't read me, don't bother with this. Anyway, this is pretty straightforward. I think you get the idea. If you're a little girl, don't go throw your ball out there. Kind of hard to argue with that. This is by sign down in the Caribbean. I thought, well, maybe they'll think it's real if I look like it was chewed up a little bit, but didn't work. But anyway. So I'm very interested in the message that your work and type and design sends before somebody starts reading. So here, besides having a pretty nice typeface, you get the message. You're probably not going to dump out there. But I thought, well, what? When I see signs like this, first thing I do is look at the same letters to make sure to see if they're different or if it's a font. Because if you want hand lettering, do hand lettering. Don't use a font that looks like hand lettering because it never does. Anyway, here's another sign just down the road. So which one would you park in front of? It says the same thing. Which one? Which is the psycho killer guy? This one guy maybe deserves it more, but he's a little psycho. Anyway, this guy at least says please, but same wordage basically is sending a very different message through the use of design. So my first magazine work was for Transworld Skateboarding Magazine. Then I started Transworld Snowboarding Magazine and some of these covers. And this was kind of my schooling. I don't have a degree in graphic design. I have a sociology degree. I taught high school for a few years and then discovered graphic design one summer. And people sometimes say, oh, that explains it, no education. But in my case, I think I never learned all the things I'm not supposed to do. So when I'm working on something, I don't have a voice from third year saying, remember, those don't go there. I just doing kind of what makes sense to me. And then other people said, oh, that, you broke this rule or that rule. But it's never the starting point. And for me, the starting point is to read the article, look at any materials you're given, listen to the music if there is any, and then just try to figure out what would that look like? What am I getting from this brief, from these photos, from this music, and what would that look like? And that's where my process starts. So after skateboarding, did Surfer Magazine, then a magazine called Beach Culture, which was kind of experimental, a lot like Ray Gun. In fact, the music magazine Ray Gun started because the publisher liked this beach culture magazine, but very few people saw it. And the nice thing with Ray Gun, the music magazine, well, one of the many nice things, but no grid, no system. Every page was a whole new design assignment, and it's a lot more work, but it's also a lot more fun for me as a designer, and I think ends up at a more interesting place if I don't have just some kind of system that I'm just flowing in. So the logo changed. This one on the left often had to deal with publicity photos that the band supplied because they're free, and everybody's seen them and you kind of hate them. So with this one, I just used it really small, even below the barcode. But anyway, some of the 30 covers I did. And when I finished an issue, I sent it to the printer. Nobody had to okay it or approve it, and that's really rare. And I'm very aware of that rareness, or I was very aware, and tried to take advantage of, never knowing if it could be the last issue or. I have no idea what this is, but you're going to love it. Oh, we're going to go back there. No, we're not. Oh, those should be videos. Oh, no. It gets worse. It goes from bad to worse. How's that possible? Oh, no. Oh. So when I put these white pieces of paper together, what I was trying to do... Where'd that come from? Oh, that's a pretty dramatic opening. Okay, we might be slowing down a little bit here. So some work for my whiskey client, Macallan. Happy holidays. And a lot of people didn't see me as somebody who'd be designing for a conservative, older, very expensive whiskey. But I think that's a sign, hopefully, that things are loosening up again. And they don't want to look like every other company that has all the same software. And this has been a really, really great client to work with. They're in Scotland. I have a whole new round of stuff that'll start breaking in the fall. And it's been a really good experience. Got to wrap a Porsche. That was pretty fun too. And another magazine called Blue. And I had this photo sent in from it was on you don't have many more contact sheets. This is how you used to look at photos, and this one always caught my eye, and I saved it for a couple of years and finally thought I had a good opening. So I didn't crop this one. That's how it came. But such a big part of what we do is your eye is noticing something that maybe the next person wouldn't, and using that. It's a really good way to work. And I think the only way you can do something really unique, because nobody else is you. Nobody else has your background. Nobody else has your training, your parents, your whole life experience. And depending on the client, you can put some or a little or a lot into the work. But the key is to do something that the person sitting next to you wouldn't do because they're not you. They can't do it. And the work's going to get a little more interesting. You're going to enjoy it more. And if you spend 5 minutes or 2 minutes on some design assignment, that's probably about the same amount of time the audience will spend with it. Somehow if you've put a lot into it often, most of the time, shows. Surf magazine from Portugal. And, for me, everything's an element. Anything you give me for the magazine is potential to be used. So here I've made the page numbers really large. Page 46, 50, 88, 90. So, why not? They're all design elements. I'm not going to let the software put that in automatically, always in the same place, same font. I mean, this is maybe a little extreme, but you wouldn't do this every page. But depending on the other artwork, the article, it's a surf magazine. I think you have a little leeway or freedom. And hopefully it signals the rest of this issue might be worth your while, that it's we're having some fun, it's experimenting, and hopefully like the sport itself. So here's page 92. And, oh no. Kind of ruined there aren't too many times I can retell the white paper joke. But I'll try. I don't know. Ah, ah. Yeah, just a little tease. Uh, yeah, somebody wanted I think maybe it'll come up. Somebody wanted a logo for their company they were calling Dada, which had nothing to do with the movement Dada and graphic design, but I think we're going to see that video of their logos. They're fun. Yeah, fun. I mean, those are D's. You know, when you look at a letter, you know, think, is there another way it could be? Could it be sideways? Could it be upside down? Could it be backwards and still read? And depending on the client or what it's for, maybe. But don't just automatically go buy that stuff. Here's kind of another example of that same thinking. You know, don't automatically go to the obvious word to make big or a different color or something. Here, this is a titled The Fear Project. It was a true story about a guy that tries all these things he was afraid to do. And the obvious one would have been to make fear big and somehow scary. But for me, the layout and the wave and the whole thing, it actually maybe got even a little more fearful, with fear being small and kind of weird, and this big the, which you normally wouldn't think should be the biggest letter. And that's not necessarily something you could do other places or would want to, but it's more the idea of think those things through. Don't make a byline or a photo credit or any of that kind of an afterthought or a second thought. Those are all elements you've gotten, page numbers, you know, and otherwise they don't need designers, because, you know, the software is really good at putting those things in the same place, in the same font, and it's lined up with the last 40 pages. And anyway, outdoor collage in Sao Paulo, very fun project. And this is a train company in America, all Amtrak. And they wanted a map. And I said, okay. I kind of looked at where they went, and they said, well, is it possible we could have some cities, you know, where the trains go? And I go, well, yeah, I guess. You're going to ruin my map, but yeah, I'll put some cities from America on there. They won't necessarily line up with where they are, but they're, you know, San Francisco is now up on the right. And anyway, surprisingly, they did go with this, and this was in their magazine. But, you know, if you're riding the train and reading the on-train magazine, you should know where you're going anyway. But that's my theory. I think if you don't know where you're going, then you have no business being on this train. Anyway, this is a tsunami benefit. A few years back, there had been a big one in Asia, and a lot of people killed, and this was for a benefit. So I had this kind of probably throwaway camera, old photo I'd taken out surfing of a wave coming in, and then I was trying to play off this idea of help. They'd been through hell, but hell was on the way. So that's where that came from. And I don't know if it quite works, but I think it is more interesting than if I had just tried to spell that out or say the whole thing. So it's just a way of getting more involved in your layout, in the work you're doing, and then I think the readers do as well. You probably would stop and at least check this out, and then maybe you decide, oh, it's some benefit, and you go, or maybe you say, oh, maybe I'll check that out. Yeah, so they've been through hell, but help was coming. Another version of the same poster. But again, don't just type those things in. You know, I always try to separate words from titles or from subtitles, or if you're really working on somebody's name, separate the name, you know, or by and their name can be three different things that you're moving around, not using it as a block, because we got a little lazy as designers in the last decade or so, and it's all poised to make it even worse. So this is for a group out of California that is doing a lot of great things in this kind of social arena, and they wanted this logo erase the hate. There's something I like about this because it doesn't actually. You think you get it. Oh, he just chopped off the sides, but it doesn't line up like that. So each line you're looking at was visually moved around. It wasn't. Yeah, it's just how it was done. And at some point I said, oh, okay, that's working. And I think that's a good way to work. I mean, there's an idea, there's a theme about erasing, and, that's borderline corny, but it kind of works. But there's also something kind of cold about it with the hard edges. And we're talking about, something pretty emotional, erasing the hate. And so I did another version that was hand done. And kind of like how the lines go through the E and the H and become the E, and they work in hate. And to their credit, given these two were the finalists, I showed more. I always show a ton of work, which I think helps a lot because they always find something they either like or kind of like, and I can address their concerns. But anyway, this is the one they went with, and even made little stamps, and it was a fun project. Well, I have no idea what we might see. Okay. What was that? I know that sound. I should. Well, we'll just watch. So that was a collab with, thanks. I'm wearing one today, actually. A collaboration with Stussy. Some people say Stussy, but it's actually Stussy brand out of originally California. Now it's Japan. But anyway, really fun project. They just gave me a lot of the archival stuff. I went through and made a lot of new compositions from it, and that became 4 different shirts and hoodies, and really fun project. Okay. And some of the Macallan work, the whiskey company, I've since redesigned their logo, which I think surprised people. And when you see the redesign, it's pretty, in a way, it doesn't hit you over the head. It doesn't really upset people, which I was trying to not to do. But if you put it with the old one and the new one, you'd say, oh, okay. And that was kind of the idea with this client. We wanted the product to feel a little fresher, a little more something, and I'm not even quite sure why, as opposed to really doing it different and pissing people off. And, there's been a couple brands in America that have had that happen. Gap was one where they redid their logo for this clothing store, and so many people complained they went back to the old one. But anyway, so yeah, I did a lot of these kind of things where I just did the artwork in the back, and I don't like when they just put the bottle over the artwork. It wants to be part of the collage and the design to be a little stronger. But anyway, it continues to be a really nice client, and we're still happy. And, so, but I guess some of the message here is everybody is possibly a client now. They don't have to like something that's very narrow. The bigger companies are looking to more individual approaches, and that's good for graphic designers because you can offer that. You can say, well, you're going to get something a little different than the software that everybody can give you something okay. And that, in a way, I think graphic designers become more valuable in the kind of new era if you have that eye and if you're passionate about it. And if you don't, well, then find that thing you are. In case we run out of time, I usually say it at the end, but it reminds me of the definition of a good job. What is the definition of a good job. And the best one I've heard, and some of you probably heard it, but if money wasn't an issue, would you do that same work? And if you would, you've got a great job. You found your thing. And if you wouldn't, well, what's the point exactly? You're going to be dead a long time. And it may not be your first, second, or third job, but find that thing that if you didn't need the money, you'd still do it. It still gets you up in the morning. And I think with me, with graphic design, but the creative field in general, we're lucky to be in because you can look forward to going to work, not watch the clock, not wait for the holidays, and to enjoy what you're doing. And there's a lot of occupations where I think people put up with them as opposed to really embrace them. So being in the creative industry, art, graphic design, any of the overlapping ones, music, fashion, it just allows you to really enjoy what you're doing, and you can make a good living as well. So that's my pitch. This was a series for, let's see, oh gosh, 10 minutes and the band starts. You're going to go, they're starting already. Oh, okay, enough. I was in Portugal at a bus station near a surf break, and I looked over and somebody had written on this post, just said, your wave is coming. And I thought, well, that's a nice thing. At a bus shelter, near a surf spot, and it works for anything, your wave is coming, but maybe it just means, well, it means that your wave is coming, and whether that's money, love, job, travel, hang in there. Your wave is coming. So I did a whole series of these. That's another. Well, it's actually a different company, but kind of the same meaning as that other one. There's something a little corny sounding. Don't hate, create, but it kind of works when you. I think here because I just love my own hand lettering, but well, this is of course we've all had problems with clients. It goes with the field. That's just part of it. I get around that a bit, like I say, by presenting a lot of ideas that I think could work for them, could be better than what they have, and they usually find something. And later, after this one on the right that I did was approved, they actually went back and did it in-house on the one on the left. And it's a big agency in LA, and it's decent, it's professional. For me, it's a little too formal maybe. At the time, I had to ask, well, what's that symbol? What's that X for? He goes, delete. Oh, okay, yeah. So I don't know, just different approaches. You're always going to find that. I'm sure I presented formal ones and not formal and some way out there ones. And anyway, so for me, I think this was a bit of a miss. I think it lost the emotion, and it's not enough to, especially if you have 3 words and your graphic designer to just flesh write it and not do anything more, all caps. Like, oh, come on. Anyway, and. It's just, they didn't let me drive it, but I got to sit in it and look like I was driving. Oh, come on, I did it. I designed it. Let me drive it. But setting these up for the car thing was actually kind of interesting because they sent me the grid, well, I hate to say grid, but the system that they use for putting color on these wraps. And these were kind of artwork in themselves. I thought, oh, this is something really nice here. You still see the 4 wheels and stuff, but anyway, so art, inspiration, anywhere. Well, I don't think we're going to have time for this, even if it worked. But this was a exhibition I did with a friend in Amsterdam, and you went in and watched this kind of screen of kind of collage elements, and you put on these headphones. And then depending on your mood, it influenced what you were seeing. So if you were kind of antsy and wanted to get out, it sped up. If you were super calm, it calmed down. We didn't really do anything with it, but it was an interesting thing to see that you could visually see how your mind was racing or not racing. And there's something kind of interesting there. Book of Probes with this philosopher, Marshall McLuhan. It predicted so much stuff. He called all his quotes probes. Oh, no. Okay. Well, anyway, Stuff, a lot of things like this. Today we live invested with an electronic information environment that is quite as imperceptible to us as water is to a fish. Fish don't think about the water, and you don't think about how do you open this little box in your hand and immediately talk to somebody on the other side of the world. Where are those things? How does that picture? But anyway, that's beyond me. But we don't question it anymore. It's just expected. Anyway, he was kind of ahead of his time. Well, sometimes I like pixelization, but not there. Oh wait! Oh no! I've never seen this one. Well, that was kind of interesting for me. I don't know if it was for you, but it's definitely a power or a memory issue going on here. I've never seen this pixelated. And there might be something there, the right music, and maybe a section of it. Probably wouldn't let it go so long, but yeah, well, you might see that next year. Wait, no, sorry, no, you don't have to watch it again. This is the same guy, Marshall McLuhan. This is, I thought, a really interesting quote. The most human thing about us is our technology. And if anything, that seems to be getting more true as we proceed. And I hope this probably isn't going to move. But being a surf guy my whole life, you hear a lot about plastics in the ocean and all these things. And you kind of think, oh, yeah, that's awful. And try to put more of your plastic bottles in the trash can or not use them at all. But when I saw this video, and I have a feeling it's not going to play, this sea of garbage moving up with the waves, and it was just like, whoa, that's radical. And it's somewhere near Bali, this wonderful vacation spot. And well, you kind of get it. It's just a wave of scary stuff. This junk. And for me, as a surf guy, it's like, oh man, it just brought it home. Well, anyway, okay. And this was a campaign to deal with that. One of the things you're not going to see before I forget, somebody brought me a nice Corona. They're doing a thing on the 100 best beaches in the world, and I'm involved in they're going to make a special bottle for each beach. And I was going to show you some stuff that I'm not supposed to show yet, so maybe it's okay, but still. This was an idea that we could make Hawaiian shirts out of what was actually plastic and bring people's attention to the thing. So here's some of this art that was used, different colors, and then turn them into shirts. And the idea is that when you got up close, hopefully at first you go, oh, that looks kind of cool. And you go over it, and when you look close, there's a lot of plastic in there and a lot of junk stuff floating around. So there's something kind of interesting there. I talked early, like it's been a long time tonight, the emotional side of type and how it can kind of get you, it can help with the communication, not only what you say. I have a quote that legibility doesn't guarantee communication. So just because something's really clear and easy to read doesn't mean it's sending the right message. So what is the work your message sends before people start reading? So this I just captured on a wall. There was a lot more to it, but these two words are kind of interesting. And I ended up doing this poster based on a poster I had seen in a march. But I thought this is pretty powerful. No doesn't mean convince me. Can anybody relate to that? I'm mumbling, yeah. I thought this was pretty strong. I saw it on TV and a cardboard sign somebody was holding up. I thought, wow, that's pretty powerful. No doesn't mean convince me. And then some work for Black Lives Matter in America. And I at the time, there was a guy killed, George Floyd was his name, and it got a lot of press, and this whole movement kind of started. And I noticed a lot of my design friends were doing things with the initials and Black Lives Matter and getting it out there and posting it. And I kind of had this feeling I should, because whatever, I have people that watch the work and this and that, but I wasn't feeling it. And the worst thing you can do on a good design project is to force it when you're not feeling it. And so I let it go for a couple of weeks and just did my other work. And sure enough, like 3 a.m, and I'm thinking, whoa, I got that one font. I bet that would work. And that's what I ended up using. So the point is, your answer will often come to you. It's like I say, trust your intuition. And intuition is that thing when you quit thinking about something, it gives you the answer. You're trying to remember who did that song, and you know it's on the tip of your tongue. And as soon as you quit thinking about it, your intuition gives you that answer. But I think you need to be open to that and listen to it as well. So another version, maybe a little more straightforward, but these are those tricky kind of assignments where you don't want to be too friendly or too happy or too fun with the type. That's not what this is about. But hopefully there is a bit of the attitude of what it's standing for, Black Lives Matter. Some work for, some album work, John Coltrane. It's a 5-album set. That was kind of nice to get. And 9 Inch Nails was a great project as well. And then, right down to the second, did a skateboard park in Dubai, the largest skate park there. A really interesting experience. And this is a little video pitching them on some work.
Anyway, we will now head into the jungle and see what we can find.
Live from Atlanta.
Okay. So then, I don't know if I had this last year or not. I don't think so. Mute worked on a CD for a rap guy, ASAP Ferg. Does anybody know Ferg? Yeah. So that was a fun, interesting project. Here's a little video. Oh no, really little, really short.
Live from Atlanta, hit a Lord, swipe the credit card, money on deck. Woke up in the 4 season, 30,000 ones in a Lou Wall bag. Only thing you're hearing is a B&B, nigga, you ain't built like that. Take the sewer gang on a ski trip so they don't drill like that. Mama keep calling, saying disrespectful how I treat a meal like that. I'm like Jesus in the trenches where I feel like that. I feel like Noah with a yacht, a few of them birds in the back. Givenchy model giving me top on, now we can't post that. All of my niggas is clean, all of my bitches is mean. Getting it straight out the mud, investing a million a team. Diamonds I drop in the club, I came a long way from the building with beans. Psycho was hanging with thugs, just that's in the snub in 515. When I got something to tell you, I was just living this dream. But loving they got it in front of the projects, I'm making it seem. Give all of my plaques to the hood, cause it never meant nothing to me. All of them trips out to Houston, I'm picking up pussy and lean. My daddy used to introduce me to killers that came out of Queens. Never meant to be a rapper, now I got a billion streams. Live from Atlanta, hit a Lord, swipe the credit card, money on deck.
100 killers when I'm in the city, like they want my head. I'm just a street nigga, just.
Okay, well, I think you get the idea of it. It just goes for about 10 more minutes. We'll keep going here. That's good. Well, fun. So what a lead in to Macallan whiskey from ASAP. That was smooth. Nobody is you. Oh, could you turn that up a little bit? The best work comes from trusting your intuition and your gut and what your heart is telling you. That's where you're going to enjoy the work more and where the work is going to have more impact on people that see it. Well, I got a degree in sociology. I ended up teaching. I think I was a decent teacher, but it wasn't a passion. And I got a flyer in the mail asking me to put it on the wall for the students. Just announced a 2-week workshop where you will study and learn to be a graphic designer. I thought, whoa, that's a profession? You can do that for a living? That sounds really fun. And that was it. I've never had anything so clear after those 2 weeks. It's like, wow, that's what I want to do. And everything shifted from that point, and I've never looked back. Some of the McAllen work, I very noticeably got into kind of what I call my zone, where I was just clicking. It was all coming together, and so I'm not aware of time or even where I am. There's 2 times when I feel I'm totally in the moment. One of them would be when I'm in that work zone, and then the other time is surfing. The ocean and the sunsets and the wind. To interact with nature, basically, it's strong stuff. The McAllen people I've dealt with have been so open to exploring new ideas, to different types of creativity. Yeah, it just clicked. Their obvious love for nature and where they work and the hand-doneness and the wooden casks. Just has so much of that with the McAllen collaboration, and I'm very proud of it. Get more of yourself into whatever it is you're doing and do something nobody else can do. That is creativity. And there's so many ways that can be manifested, and whether it's making whiskey or doing graphic design. To a project in Portugal at a surf festival where they were driving me in. Pardon? Oh. You mean like this? Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, so this is in Portugal, and at a big festival they have every September. It's coming up again, and music and surf, kind of longboard. They don't take it too serious, and really a good time. But it's called Gliding Barnacles, and they're driving me in the night I got there, and I looked and saw this big empty wall. I said, oh, that'd be kind of fun to paint something on. And they said, really? What about tomorrow? I said, okay. Never did something that big, but it was really neat experience to be out there actually painting on a physical thing. And the theme this year was Stop Making Sense. So I thought, well, of course you have to do that backwards. Anyway, fun project. And this is the thing I mentioned to you earlier. This was in a bus stop in Portugal on the side of the road. It's just really nice. In a lot of ways, I couldn't make that better, but I could at least give it a new purpose. Repurposing is what I like to call it, especially with the collage work. Take an old, discarded, not read anymore collage or poster and give it new life, repurposing. So here's some of that series, Your Wave is Coming. They got pretty abstract as I moved through them and did quite a few. And you've done a lot of work when you can actually skateboard through your work on the ground. And pre-bought ones, people are saying, what are these like wheel marks on my piece of art? I go, no. I don't know where it came from. Okay, so I'm going to close up here, I think, with this last little assignment. There's a company, not really a company, but there's a group in Australia that is really big on getting them to kill the fin trade. There's a big market in capturing sharks, and then they cut off their fins, and then they sink to the bottom because they can't swim without the fins. So it takes them a couple days to die. And then they make expensive soup with the fins, the back fin and the tail fin. It's just like, seriously? Really, a really awful thing. So it was an interesting design proposition. How do you get people to be sympathetic to sharks? We always see are these kind of ominous shark images going through the water and worse. So I started here, well, maybe it could be hand done or watercolored in this case and get it not quite so evil, because we need people to be sympathetic to sharks, basically. So that was one idea. Oh, no, that was probably the good one.
Hi, my name is David Carson. I'm here at 72 and Sunny in Los Angeles. I'm a graphic designer, and I think I care about this project because, number one, I'm human, and number two, because I spend a lot of time in the ocean. 100 million sharks a year. What kind of number is that? Are you kidding me? There's just a ton of issues here, and I think that's where the best design work comes from, is when you're motivated by something, when you feel it, that you're passionate about this, you're going to do better work, and that's where you have the potential to really have some impact. The original approach when I started was with watercolor, and I like the kind of freedom that gives you, but then I also wanted to try something very different, which is a very hard edge. Still use some watercolor, but it got much more forceful in a way, and see, can that still work? Great ideas are bigger than any one person, and it's going to take all of us to solve this. This is huge, and we need everybody, and I'm really excited to see where you guys take this. You have your unique skills that is going to take this campaign to something I could never do, and that was good. Yeah, so you got to be open to the unexpected.
That was kind of the ad agency touch at the end. You think the commercial's done, and they come back with a little funny bit, but yeah, but it's true. I think what I said there. You've got to be open to the unexpected stuff when you're working. Don't be so narrow in where you're headed that you miss maybe stuff that happens along the way. And sometimes when I'm working, something might fall on the ground or whatever. And I go, oh, wait a minute, that's kind of nice. So something being an accident, that doesn't make it good, but sometimes that can be better than where you thought you were going. So be open to things that happen along the process. That's can be really exciting. So here I've stuck with that, and I'm just going to finish up this little bit but here I'm trying, okay, maybe I could add some type and it'll still stay friendly. We got a watercolor shark down there, kill the fin trade. A little corny that it's maybe in the water, but maybe not too bad. And then I thought, well, maybe I need to address this fin thing. I mean, this is what is being cut off for expensive soup. And then did this watercolor. They're all individually different. I think my work is best when it's either really simple or really complicated. And when it's in the middle, it's probably the least effective or successful. So I tend to work in extremes, I think. So I thought, well, if I'm going to do, there's millions of these sharks are killed, I need to really do it. And went with this direction for fins. And the big part is on this particular thing is that they've been Well, the fact that they weren't just copied and paste, they were all different, so hand done. But then I thought, going back to this simple or really complicated thing, something seemed to be lacking here. I see it a lot in magazine covers. If they have a lot of great photos and they use all of them, the impact is usually nothing. It's like, okay, whatever. Whereas if you take one really strong one, you can get somebody to do a double take and want to know more. So ultimately, this campaign ended up doing this. Just one fin, the logo. There was, I forget how many different ones, and they're plastered around Melbourne and a couple other cities in Australia. But I think it got a lot more powerful than even trying to show zillions of them. I'm just going to end, I promise, with this. This is I get corporate clients too, and the clean energy one. This is a company to make all the shipping container ships electric, which would have quite a good impact. Called Shift. So the logo's okay. I went through a lot of these. It says Shift, hopefully without being corny about it. But what was interesting to me is somebody sent me this case that had gone to the Supreme Court in America, and the basic argument was, is graphic design art? Because if graphic design is not art, then they can tell you what you can or cannot do, what you can design for, what you can support or not support, if it's not art. If it's art, well, artists have freedom of expression. And this was the case brought to the highest court in America, and these were the samples they gave them, the Nike swoosh, the Apple, of course, and my Shift logo, which is not quite in the same atmosphere. But anyway, the court decided, it's an art. Graphic design is an art, and you don't have to work for people that your political idea is different than theirs or religious or any of that. So it was it didn't get a whole lot of attention, but I thought it was pretty interesting. And there's a whole debate there about, you shouldn't be able to not work with somebody because you don't like their religion. But it was complicated. A friend and I painted this wall in Los Angeles, and I don't know if it's the same thing, but when I was growing up, little kids were often told, don't talk to strangers. It's deadly, or you could get in trouble. Don't talk to strangers. And we started thinking, well, maybe it's better if you did talk to strangers. Maybe there'd be less all the junk that's going on in the world a little bit. So talk to strangers. You might find out they're human. They have some of the same loves and hates and fears that you have, and you might make their day too, and vice versa. Work for Bose. Pretty conservative company. And the only thing I'll say about this, sometimes in your work, imagine if you got the long version of this talk. This is my sped up super fast. Anyway, so sometimes it's about the little victories, and you're not always going to get what you want, and that's fine. But rather than say, well, screw it, or I don't like them, maybe there's something you can still do that helps them and makes it a little bit more your own, and it really becomes about the small victories. In this case, I wouldn't say it really was that small. This huge speaker and headphone company, Bose, in America had never used, and it wasn't that long ago, a woman in any of their advertising. It was just men, white men. And this was like up to about 10 years ago, which to me is a little shocking. So the type is okay. It's fine. But I'm more happy the fact that I was able to convince them to, of course, use a woman. Why not? And then I even got maybe possibly, not bigger, but another similar victory with this one. So up until this campaign, they had only used white males. And so that's a little victory. That was actually a pretty big one. So I wouldn't show this as a design, something special, but I think with that story, it gets pretty special to me. I don't know what we're not seeing.
Live from Atlanta, here the Lost Fight.
The other 10 minutes, we'll see it. I promised. It's coming. Okay, well, some stuff from the skate park in Dubai.
Anyway.
We saw that. Yeah, we saw that. We talked about. Okay, we're really wrapping up here. This is a hotel in Amsterdam called Zoku, and they asked me to paint on the inside of a door. And I thought, well, that's kind of interesting. So when you're in there, can anybody read it? Okay. I thought, so imagine some of the old, well, I shouldn't say older, but whoever in there doing their business in the restroom, and you're sitting there kind of looking at that, and at some point you get it. Well, I am giving a shit. Anyway, maybe it had to be there. This was a campaign people asked me to get involved with. Women, life, freedom. I wanted blood, but sharp edges, and hopefully it kind of forces you to read it. And it's been a few years now. I think it was Iran. Anybody know? That sparked, there was something that happened and that got, yes, no, I'm wrapping up. You wanted me to start now. You want me to stop. What is it? Make up your mind. Bulletproof furniture, Big in America. That's how we solved gun violence. We made all the furniture bulletproof, and the backpacks and the school desks and the church pews. We solved it. This was a pretty cool video of a butterfly hanging in there. Well, it's a crazy windy day, and that little guy just hung in there. I thought that was pretty cool. And oh wow, where did that come from? That's my logo for the Dolly Museum, and something kind of nice how that comes in kind of quietly. Oh, this is a few years old now, but some graffiti I took a picture of in Ukraine before all that indefensible stuff started happening, and still pretty strong. And with that, we'll say thank you very much.